What gives the right for people to just turn up at any location and call it home? What gives anybody the right to assume that they can park their dwelling anywhere, whether that area is actually well catered for visitors of those types or not? That's the idea of this video. It's the explosion of van life and the fact that people go anywhere now. You know, they use apps like Park for Night that just let anybody find any location, because at one point everybody used to share the location, which means now people without any experience or standards even can go find lovely places out in the countryside or anywhere else and park up, park for the night. Except they don't. They think it's a free campsite, and they get the chairs out and they start cooking, and that's European style. They're called airs, and Europe likes them. But in Britain, airs seem to be something that councils want to charge for, and essentially it's just a concrete slab still, whereas in Europe airs are mostly free. But where do we draw this line? I'm next to a canal at the moment, and canal boats pay to be on the canal in several ways. There's license fees, there are MOTs, insurances, checks. You know, there's an association that comes along and verifies that everyone's allowed to be where they're allowed to be, that their permit allows them on this canal, that they're allowed to be here for so many days or weeks sometimes too. Because of those fees and the agreements and everything else, they've got access to toilets and showers and fresh water. But I think the biggest thing really is the acceptance of the general public, because no one bothers canal boats. You never see people getting aggressive towards canal boat owners. And after all, most canal boat owners are like me. It's their dwelling, you know, they're living in it full time, all year round. But people just walk along the canal. They see the canal boats. Most of the time people go, oh, that's a nice canal boat. Oh, look, it says Rosie and Jim on the side or whatever. They're accepted. It's like you know, they've been there for so many decades now. Well, longer than that. You've been using canal boats now for a few hundred years in this country for, well, the movement of goods, until that really wasn't that feasible anymore, and now they're just used for mainly recreation. But they're so peaceful. Why wouldn't you want to live on a canal boat and enjoy peace and quiet like this? And I guess that's what I mean about van life and this right. I'm going to drive my vehicle to somewhere like this and park it up and get my chairs out, or have a barbecue, or have a fire pit out and drink beer all night and be loud, or have kids that are uncontrollable and go around screaming and playing football and banging things. No one's really thinking about the fact that, what do the locals think when people like that turn up? Because if canal boat people acted like that, you bet your bottom dollar someone would have something to say. More than likely, the other canal boat owners would have something to say. But in van life, we don't. In van life, we mumble under our breaths, complain to ourselves or whoever's next to us, or via message at somebody. You wouldn't believe these people that have just turned up. Rather than just going, knocking on the van and saying, any chance you can stop doing that, or do this or do that, because, well, it's not really the done thing. See, I guess I'm talking about etiquette. a van life etiquette. So maybe apps like Park for Night should charge a fee before they allow access to these parkups. And it's like a deposit scheme or something, or an insurance scheme. But essentially they're signing up to a code of conduct, if you like. You've got to agree to these things. Respect the people around you. Respect nature. Don't cause a nuisance. You are parking for the night. There's no camping involved. If you want to camp, go find a campsite. Maybe that's what's needed. Because the explosion of van life and all these new people that have got no idea, maybe some of them just don't care either. How else are you going to actually put some sort of controls over it? Because it's going to get to a point now where every parkup is barriered, or there's signs or whatever. And they're doing that because of the number of people that are turning up and misbehaving, mistreating the place. Well, like the car park we're at, where there's about 10 spaces. We turned up, there's no one there. We park up, within 3 hours, there's 3 more camper vans there. So, taking up more than half of the little car park for the people who come and walk down here. So they're going to get narky, aren't they? That's just one of those things. When we started out many years ago, you'd turn up to a small car park, if there was 1 or 2 campers there, you'd go find another one. But in saying that, you could go find another one because there weren't that many camper vans around. Whereas nowadays there are a lot more campers, like a lot more campers. So how do we get around this bit? And how do we get the message across that there is no right? You shouldn't assume the right to drive your vehicle anywhere and stay there. Treat it like a hotel or whatever, because not everywhere's set up for that, and probably more so, not every community wants that. There's historical issues, obviously. Travellers, either from sort of like if you want to say Irish travellers, or you want to say Polish travellers, or throughout Europe anyway, there were different types of travellers. And historically, they've turned up in caravans, trashed the place, left all the rubbish behind and then moved on. And that's obviously set people's expectations of, you see a few camper vans there or caravans or whatever, they're going to do that, obviously. And I guess the unfortunate thing is, more recently, a few of those camper vans, the newbies, have been doing that. They have turned up, treated the place like a campsite, left all the crap behind, sometimes quite literally leaving their crap behind, and then giving people new inspiration to try and block access to these places like this for people who wreck their community. And I mean, it's not just the UK. I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, plenty of evidence of people in Europe seeing the same sort of mistreatment of nature, if you like, or lack of respect of nature, where people just leave the crap, literally. So it's not a UK thing, but I guess my point is, this is the place now, because of Brexit, that we are locked into for quite a few months a year before we're allowed our 90 and 180 to get out. So maybe it's about time that we started to respect it a bit more. Maybe it's about time that we can speak up, and we should speak up, to educate the new people, to let them know that if they're going to stop somewhere, it literally is like blind shut. Keep yourself in the van. Or, if you want to go out and go to the local shops and pubs and invest in that community and help them out, great. But come back to the van and the place where you're parked and treat it like a parking space. It's not a campsite. Be respectful of what is, at the moment, still mostly acceptable. There are weird rules in the UK that you can't sleep in a vehicle overnight. I have no idea why. Just, yeah, seems incredulous to me that someone got that specific once in a law to stop people from sleeping in a vehicle overnight, unless you're a truck driver or something like that. But at the end of the day, just like the canal boat sort of dwellers, you know, the modern world has alternative lifestyles, alternative living, which means, yeah, alternative dwelling as well. So if you want to stay for the remaining days of your life in a house, a flat, a canal boat, campervan, motorhome, or a tent in a field, you really should be able to, if you're respectful, if you don't cause a nuisance, if, as much as you possibly can, you know, so you look after yourself and look after your surroundings. And I guess to a certain extent, you know, follow the rules. I don't mean rules, government rules. I mean the rules as in, like I've mentioned before, about code of conduct. It's simple. To base it into the fewest words as possible, it's leave no trace. To extend on that a few bits more is take nothing but pictures. And then there's another one as well, leave nothing but footprints. Sorry for the rough voice, but I've got a bit of a cold at the moment. But I've been thinking of ways to make this video for some time, to be respectful, but obviously understand that some people can get easily offended, especially if I'm talking about Irish travellers or I don't know, Romanian travellers or whatever. It's not I'm having a go at somebody in terms of being sort of, you know, disrespectful. I'm just stating the obvious. I mean, I could also say back in the 60s that there was a big movement of travellers, and the government really smashed down on them hard. But again, if you look at that, it was because too many of those travellers were creating too much of a fuss, because they were turning up in big old buses and having parties, making a lot of noise, making a lot of mess, that the government just jumped on them all. And it's like something the government does, isn't it? Easy targets, find an easy target and then ban it. I actually, a couple of years back, laughed my face off because diesel heaters, obviously, they're a big thing. During lockdown or whatever, someone put a video out saying they've put a diesel heater in the house and they're saving loads of money on fuel bills. It took the government about 3 or 4 weeks to see this video, and they're so stupid and naive that they just banned the import of that brand diesel heater. The unfortunate thing, it was a really good diesel heater and we can't buy them anymore. So, yeah, it is what it is, folks. But if you follow the rules, we shouldn't stand out so much. We should be more accepted where we go, which means we'll be able to do this, hopefully, for a lot longer, which I sincerely hope is the case. So if you know anyone that's new to camping, just pass the message on. It's parking spaces that we do, folks. Unless you go to a campsite, you're in a parking space. And if you're in a parking space, you stay in your van or you go out for a walk somewhere, and that's that. Right, well, I've enjoyed my little walk by the canal. Just be very respectful. Been to the local shop, been to the local pub as well. And it's time to move on.